Hello all, I'm Sreedhar Reddy, a practicing chartered accountant. Most of the NRIs dream of owning an agricultural land or a farmhouse in India. Can they legally do so? Can they legally own a farmhouse or an agricultural land in India? Actually, no, because the Foreign Exchange Management Act says an NRI or OCI means an overseas citizen of India, may acquire immovable property in India other than agricultural land or farmhouse or plantation property. It means an NRI can acquire any immovable property, but he cannot acquire agricultural land, farmhouse, plantation property. Plantation property means nothing but a coffee plantation, tea plantation, rubber plantation, palm oil plantation, even olive plantation. So, what is the legal remedy? Can NRIs acquire immovable property? Yes, they can acquire any immovable property, but they cannot acquire agricultural land, farmhouse, or plantation property. However, they can inherit immovable properties like any immovable property, including agricultural land or a farmhouse or a plantation property from their parents. But they cannot acquire, they cannot purchase, an NRI cannot purchase agricultural land, farmhouse, or a plantation property. But they can inherit from their parents, acquire any immovable property in India. An NRI or OCI may acquire any immovable property. Any immovable property includes agricultural land, farmhouse, or a plantation property. What can they? Can anybody gift an agricultural land or a farmhouse or a plantation property to NRI? Can NRI receive an agricultural land, farmhouse property, or a plantation property by way of gift? The law says no. An NRI or OCI may acquire any immovable property in India by way of gift from a person resident in India or a non-resident or an OCI. But what is accepted here is an NRI may acquire any immovable property in India other than agricultural land, farmhouse, or a plantation property by way of gift from a person resident in India or from an NRI or from an OCI. So it is clear that an NRI cannot buy agricultural land, farmhouse property, or a plantation property in India, and he cannot also receive by way of gift an agricultural land, farmhouse property, or a plantation property. But he can inherit it from your parents or from their parents. But what is the intent behind it? Why is the law permitting inheritance but not gift? The intent of the lawmaker is that an NRI can plan receiving a gift from their parents or relatives of an agricultural property, farmhouse property, or a plantation property. A gift can be planned, but inheritance cannot be planned. It means you can plan a gift from your parents, but you cannot plan the death of your parents and receiving their estate. The death is act of God, which is uncertain, which is beyond your control. So law allows inheritance, but law does not allow gift. So is it clear? I think. See, you have just imagine that you have inherited an agricultural land, a farmhouse, or a plantation property. Can you sell that inherited agricultural land or a farmhouse or a plantation property to another NRI? You are an NRI and you want to sell that to another NRI. No, you cannot do so. It is clearly prohibited. An NRI or OCI may transfer any immovable property other than agricultural land, farmhouse, or a plantation property to an NRI or OCI. See, you can sell any property like residential property, commercial property, anything else to an NRI. You can sell an immovable property like residential property, commercial property, or anything of such nature to an NRI or OCA, but you cannot transfer an agricultural land or a farmhouse or a plantation property to an NRI. Then whom can you transfer? You can transfer an agricultural land, farmhouse property or a plantation property only to a person resident in India. It means only to the resident Indians and not to the NRIs. Okay. See, see, just imagine that you have acquired some land before becoming an NRI. I mean, you have purchased some land, or you have inherited some land before becoming an NRI, and you are holding that land, and you moved to abroad, and you are holding that land even after becoming an NRI. Can you hold that land? Yes, you can hold that land for sure. A person resident outside India. A person resident outside India means nothing but NRI. I mean, even NRI is covered in person resident outside India definition. May hold, own, transfer, or invest in any movable property. Any immovable property includes agricultural land, farmhouse, plantation property. Situated in India, if such currency, security, or property was acquired, held, or owned by such person when he was resident in India, or inherited from a person resident in India. See, your father need not be NRI. He might be owning some land. Upon his demise, upon his death, you might be inheriting some agricultural land. You can own that agricultural land. There is no restriction on that. You have purchased some in agricultural land even before becoming an NRI. You can hold that agricultural land even after becoming NRI. There is no restriction on that. But if you want to transfer that land, you have to transfer only to the resident Indians, only to the resident Indians, and not to the NRIs. You cannot sell your agricultural land, farmhouse, plantation, property to NRIs or OCI, overseas citizen of India. You can only transfer to resident Indians. So you can receive any immovable property by way of gift, but you cannot receive agricultural land, farmhouse property, or a plantation property. So agricultural land, farmhouse property, and plantation property cannot be received as a gift. It can be received only by way of inheritance. If you are an NRI, you can receive only by way of inheritance and not by way of gift. Okay, I think this is clear for all. See, let us discuss. I mean, is there any loophole to override this? Only loophole is that, see, before buying any land, I mean, before buying any agricultural land, you can change the land use. Change the land use means CLU, change of land use. You can convert that agricultural land into non-agricultural land by paying some fees to the government. Then you can acquire it. Only then you can acquire a property, because it will no more be called as agricultural land, because the purpose of the land is changed. It can be used, I mean, you can pay some fees to the government and you will change the land use. I mean, you will use it for commercial, residential purposes or anything else. But you cannot acquire an immovable property which is an agricultural land. So change of land use before acquiring it is an available means or a loophole that you can do. And some people are like, I'll incorporate a company, I'll buy the agricultural land using that company. Can they do so? Technically no, because see, this is foreign FDI policy, where it is covered in FDI policy, foreign direct investment policy. It says that the following are prohibited sectors where you cannot invest in. FDI is prohibited in these companies: lottery, betting, gambling, chit fund, nidhi company, TDRs, transferable development rights, and it is specifically covering real estate business or construction of farmhouses. It is very clear that you cannot, I mean, you as an NRI cannot form a company and invest only for the purposes of carrying real estate business or construction of farmhouses. However, they have excluded some items. I mean, real estate business shall not include. I mean, these activities shall not be considered as real estate activities. What are those activities? Development of townships, construction of residential or commercial premises, roads, bridges, real estate investment trusts. So if you carry on activities like development of township, you want to build a big township, a smart city in India, you can do so. Construction of residential or commercial premises like malls, you can do so. Construction of roads, bridges, civil works, you can do so. And even real estate investment trusts, like there are many real estate investment trusts listed in Indian stock exchanges. You can buy them, right? And FDI, you can invest in a company and use that money only for the purposes of these activities. See, the company can buy an agricultural land and hold that agricultural land, and it shall use that agricultural land only for the purposes of floriculture, horticulture, cultivation of vegetables, mushrooms under controlled conditions, development and production of seeds and planting materials, animal husbandry, pisciculture, aquaculture, apiculture, and services related to agro and allied sectors. Besides the above, FDI is not allowed in any other agriculture sector or activity. See, you cannot bypass, you cannot form a company, use that company to buy and sell agricultural land. You can form a company, invest your money only for the purposes of these things: floriculture, horticulture, cultivation of vegetables, mushrooms, development and plantation of seeds, animal husbandry, services related to agro and allied sectors. You can do these activities, but you cannot form a company just for the purposes of buying and selling of agricultural land and making profits. So the law is very clear. If you cannot do it directly, you cannot even do it indirectly. See, what is the penalty in case you do it? You purchase an agricultural land, farmhouse or a plantation property in India being an NRI. The penalty is you are liable to a penalty up to thrice the sum involved in such contradiction or a contravention. See, you purchased a land worth 2 crores in India. Just imagine that you purchased a land, agricultural land or a farmhouse or a plantation property worth 2 crores in India. You are liable for a penalty of rupees 6 crores. And before paying that penalty, they will make sure that you will sell that agricultural land. You cannot hold that agricultural land even after paying the penalty of rupees 6 crores. You have to sell that agricultural land and pay a penalty of rupees 6 crores to the government. So this is a huge penalty. The only option available is like change of land use. Other than that, there is no option available. So I hope you are clear with the concept. Thank you.